The following contest is scheduled for one fall, and it is for Wrestling's Mount Rushmore. Introducing first, from Oceanside, New York, representing Lowell, Massachusetts, weighing in at over 600 stone, Danny Hendog, representing the real streets around here. And my opponent tonight, once again, the reoccurring opponent of all time. He is from Carmel, New York, representing Woburn, Massachusetts. A triple, quadruple black belt in Taekwondo. He won a couple of medals. He'll tell you about it all day. That is my boy and yours, Danny Diablo. What is the deal?
What's going on? What's going on? I can't
You
believe
are
you
live
dragged me
and
here again.
uncut. You are live and uncut. Yes. So today's episode, Mount Rushmore, we're going to be talking about the heel turn. The heel turn, if in layman's term, is the good guy turning into the bad guy. Every story has it. You have your Romeo and Juliets. You have like the Tybalts that turn from like you thought he was a good guy and then turns on the Capulets. You have literature down the line that always has some kind of character that's troubled and then turns to quote unquote the dark side. You could even look at Judas in the Bible, but there's always a bad guy, and that's what makes the dynamic of a good story is the battle between good and bad. Wrestling has made it professional and has put it on television for years and years and years. There's always the baby face, who is the good guy, and the heel, who is the bad guy. He is, I forget the literature term. What's the literature term, Mr. Professor over there? I'm thinking a bad when a
The
character is a
antagonist?
bad guy.
He's the antagonist?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go. There we go. We got a bunch of English majors in the house. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's
Antagonist,
that
protagonist.
Northeastern University education.
I know, right? All the student loans have come to this point about the protagonist and the antagonist, the heel and the baby face, positive, negative, black, white, whichever way you want to look at it. Every side of the coin is what is encompassed in these kind of stories that are taken or that are told, shall I say. So, with that, we are going to start with the infamous coin toss, the Washington spot represented by the quarter that I'll be flipping here. And then we flip the coin. And guess what? I am the winner this week. I will be presenting my three. So, Mount Rushmore protocol and procedures. We do our four top spots. We do our four tops, and then the total top spot, which is the Washington spot. That is who our favorite is out of the four in the Mount Rushmores. I will present my three. Then, since I won the coin toss, I'm doing it first. Then Diablo will be going second, and then we will get to the Washington spots. So, for my first entry in my Mount Rushmore of heel turns, my best, and since childhood, everyone always talks about it. Shawn Michaels throwing Marty Jannetty through the plain glass window on the barbershop with Brutus the Barber Beefcake. I wish I had the date. I want to say 92-ish, WrestleMania 8. Every kid that was
It's
born
1991. 1991.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, we got the professor in the house. 1991 is the statistic. We were all very, very young, but even to this day, you'll see Facebook quotes of people being like, "Oh man, that's a Shawn Michaels throwing him through the glass type move." Any kid that was born between like 1980 and 87 and was watching wrestling remembers that moment. It was a true, true moment, especially in television history, because even today they'll use that in clips like of the bad guy, I mean, the good guy turning into the bad guy, and that ultimate, like looking at the camera, at the hard cam right in front, and ripping that WWE magazine at the time, like forever. I get goosebumps just talking about it. The nerd
for
in
me,
me.
for me, it's the super kick that he hits him with. The sweet shit. Oh man.
So great. We were so young, but we knew that, oh man, Shawn Michaels, the blonde-haired smiling guy, that like theme music, the way they would flip out of the ring, and then all that's gone, ripped away from us, totally ripped away, ripped my heart out of my chest. And obviously, as you know, because you saw me at age 42, I was crying into my teddy bear that night.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
My number two spot, coming one rung up. What I love about it is just the popularity of it and the meme that was created out of it. My second rung, Mount Rushmore, is Seth Rollins turning on the Shield and smashing him with the chair. What I love about this one, just like the Shawn Michaels, like the visceral moment, but what I loved about this is it was on Monday Night Raw, and it really was out of nowhere. Like in the storyline, I can't say I was like truly following, because I want to say like the second Rock versus Cena is really where I kind of just became like a backseat watcher. But that Shield breaking up that whole, how many times have you seen like the bobbleheads of like different sporting events? They always use that meme of Seth Rollins smashing him with the chair in the back, and the whole like Dean Ambrose, like, and that's one thing Dean Ambrose is good at, is those facial expressions on television.
No,
And
for
then for
sure. And the one thing that I'll say really about that heel turn as well, though, is if you think about the long-term implications that it winds up having
yes,
on professional wrestling, right? Because the Shield in and of itself was such a great stable. But then when you think about what each of those guys has gone on to do individually in their careers, right? Roman Reigns, we look at what he's done now. Seth Rollins, we look at where he is now. Dean Ambrose, I'm not sure whatever happened to him. Who knows where he is now? Nobody knows where he's wrestling
he
these
is a
days.
superstar on Channel 32 TNT.
I
If it is Channel 32, anyway. I remember that from childhood.
I don't know what you're talking about. Again, I don't know what happened. I know Dean Ambrose left the WWE and apparently has never been seen again in professional wrestling. But if you really just think about the career paths of those three guys, I think it makes that heel turn really significant.
It is, and as as much as I could care less if it's on MTV or if it's on TMZ, but what I always love is seeing that meme, like I just,
Yeah,
you'll see it throughout the years. And I'm always like, yo, that's pro wrestling. It's out there. People that don't even know what's pro wrestling will just see that little like thing and put the bobblehead on of anybody in any show. So I just always love those visceral moments, especially that it expands to years and years later. Final spot, I know you're gonna agree, but my top before the Washington spot. Um, and I go into my deep tone because this is when I truly found out what heartbreak is. I really found out that your best friends won't take you back. Sometimes your emotions just spill over. When the leg was dropped on Macho Man Randy Savage, Bash at the Beach, I think that is when my major depression disorder started. I truly, and I didn't even see it live. I didn't even see it live. I saw it at the library like 2 weeks later in Pro Wrestling Illustrated, the cover that month. And I am tearing as I'm saying this. The cover was the only person that could kill Hulkamania is Hulk Hogan, and you see him like with like the black beard, like I'm gonna try to get the picture of that cover for the PWI, and I know you're a PWI fan, so you probably remember that cover. But Hulk Hogan turning to the NWO, where were you?
Wait, did that? What promotion did that happen in?
ran by your pseudo hero over there, Mr. Eric Bischoff, whose idea
Yeah,
supposedly it was. So like he wrote that whole angle that and produced it. So
no, I mean, yeah, I actually, shockingly, I am an Eric Bischoff guy, especially now. Now in the later years, when you get Bischoff talking about wrestling, I do find myself aligning a lot with Bischoff and kind of, his whole.
just because you guys are playing tennis matches on the weekends, it's okay. You could admit it on here. This is a safe
Yeah,
space.
no, I do. I like his philosophy on a lot of things. But no, I mean that. Yeah, I mean that one's so monumental. I I could see where you're coming from in terms of heartbreak, right? I have other thoughts on that, but that's one that maybe shows up on my list. So maybe I'll elaborate on it
It's true. It's true.
a
And I
little
think
bit further as you go. I mean, really, how can you have this conversation and not have that on there, right? I mean, I think that's not going to come to anybody's surprise. I think anybody who were to do a list of Mount Rushmores of heel turns and didn't have that on there, I don't think that you could take their Mount Rushmore seriously.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're making yourself look uneducated if you don't
Yeah,
include that moment. How
absolutely.
many documentaries, how many throughout the years, not even WWE produced stuff like the Dark Side of the Ring. I even want to say at that time, like Entertainment Tonight, and what led into it, the Dennis Rodmans coming to WCW, like all the rappers quoting that, like you had like the original gun clappers from New York, the Duck Down Records. They have a whole song about, turning heel and talking about Hulk Hogan. Like NWO was like doing nothing, and then Hulk Hogan joined, and then it became the money train that it had become. The T-shirt still sits in my closet over there. But I turn the coins now, Mr. Dan Diablo.
Yeah.
Bless us with your Mount Rushmore of heel turns.
Yeah, interestingly enough, in our last episode talking about the Intercontinental Champions. So for those that haven't seen it, you can go back and check that one out. But when we were talking about Intercontinental Champions, I think we had a lot of synergy there, right? I think our lists were really close. Where I think this time I went a little bit of a different direction.
Uh-oh.
Okay, all right.
Right
so
outfield is coming out.
So my first entry, I've got Andre the Giant going heel and aligning with Bobby the Brain Heenan against Hulk Hogan.
I just watched that like 2 weeks ago. Great television moment.
It really is, right? And if we really think about it, right, we've got to go back, to Andre the Giant, right? Really who he is. I mean, he's up there behind me, but Andre the Giant, folks have to, for folks that don't know, was an attraction worldwide in professional wrestling. And, in especially during the time when he came over to the WWF and then the WWF, he was a heel. He was a face, right? He was someone who was loved.
The gentle giant.
Right. Exactly. And him and Hulk Hogan were also really good friends. If folks remember when Hulk Hogan first wins the WWF Championship from the Iron Sheik, it's Andre the Giant who's back there with him, the first person to congratulate him and celebrate with him, pouring the champagne over his head. So Hogan,
they're celebrating crazy. I'll have the clip up playing right now, but yeah.
So Andre, Andre and Hogan are best of friends, but then, they kind of, as we see a lot, right? When you have two alphas, there's always that friction of each one of them thinks they're the best and wants to be the best. Andre wanted to be the champion, and he decided that was more important to him than his friendship to Hogan. And he aligns with Bobby the Brain Heenan, the biggest heel manager
dude ever.
Right. And then him going and ripping the chain off of Hogan. And it was fantastic. And
there's a really good clip about that when he rips the crucifix. I'm thinking it might be like a WWE produced one from the network, right. Where like Andre actually ripped in by accident, whatever you want to call it, like ripped into his chest and he's bleeding. And it's such a visceral moment when Rowdy Piper is not only is the crucifix on the floor, he grabs the blood and he's like, Hulk, you're bleeding. It's it makes it so human, and it's Hogan's all confused. Yes, you're absolutely right. Once again, the professor comes through.
and then really thinking about what that leads to. That is the first step in the lead up to WrestleMania 3, right? The 93,000 people in the Pontiac Silverdome, and it leads to that iconic moment of Hogan and Andre staring each other down face to face in the center of the ring, and then Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant, right? All that
killer.
That big event that really launches WWE into the global juggernaut that we know today. The catalyst to that is that Andre the Giant heel turn. and that's why it makes it on the list for me.
That it's that whole event spectacular, especially like the IC title in that with WrestleMania 3 and just that picturesque of like the the 93, supposedly 78,000 whatever, if you want to talk to the internet wrestling community, who's the legion of haters. But anyway, the one thing with WrestleMania 3 was that whole like not interception, but like intersection with MTV. It was
Yes.
like, and they talk about that like in documentaries now, where it would be like music video, Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3, music video, like if you're on that type of rotation, and the match in itself, you would think like, Andre had like a broken back at the time, like, and like there's so many variables that could have just gone completely wrong, and they still put on such a great match. Yes, is it gonna like give 5 stars from Dave Metzler? Probably not. But did it put 93 butts in seats, 93,000 butts in seats? And what was it? The first that was the first pay-per-view worldwide, I think, WrestleMania 3. Like they escaped from like the closed circuit and moved into pay-per-view. So yeah, you're absolutely right. That whole heel turn definitely led to the cash cow, at least one of the first like very big cash cow moments for Vince McMahon and the whole WWF.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Dave Metzler wouldn't know good professional wrestling if it slapped him in the face. So I mean, he can.
What is it? What is it? The chop from that the big dude, Gunther.
Yeah, Gunther. Yeah. All right. So my second entry on the list, right, and this one I think is really interesting in terms of it's not a traditional heel turn, but I think it's one of the best heel turns of all time.
I.
And so my second entry is going to be Vince McMahon and his heel turn into Mr. McMahon via the Montreal Screwjob.
Wait. Are you telling me that you kind of liked the moment where Brett screwed Brett? You're talking about? Is that what you're talking about? I don't know.
I think Brett screwed Brett is one of the greatest lines delivered in the history of professional wrestling. It is the birth of one of the greatest heel characters in the history of professional wrestling, and that is Mr. McMahon, right? And so if you really think about it, talk about something that documentaries have been made about and things like that, the Montreal Screwjob, right? It's also one of the first times where really it starts to blur that line, and you're no longer seeing Vince McMahon as the lead commentator. You're seeing Vince McMahon as the owner and chairman of the WWF, right? And so again, really all the hatred that got put towards him, and then him embracing that, the Brett screwed Brett interview, as you said, and that leading to the birth of the Mr. McMahon character. And really the big thing there is, if you think about it, kind of similar to the long-term impact with WrestleMania 3 of the Andre heel turn, you got to then look further down the road and think about the impact. Again, Mr. McMahon, that heel turn leads to that character, which really is a driving force through the Attitude Era, right? If you think about Stone Cold's greatest adversary, you could argue that it's The Rock, but it's really Mr. McMahon, right? It's really
Mr. McMahon's the one pulling the strings. Right. Like with every great match that is against Austin, Vince McMahon had his little tentacle in there.
And then when you think about the corporation, the corporate ministry, the authority, everything, it all ties back to this Mr. McMahon character, right? So this is really what creates that whole, blurred line of the reality of him being the boss and him being this shadow character who controls everything evilly in the background of WWE. So again, that moment really sets off what is a catalyst for the next decade and a half really 2 decades in the WWE. And so that's why I put the Vince McMahon becoming Mr. McMahon heel turn Montreal Screwjob up there in
that. Yeah, that's like I would never, until right now, I never really seriously looked at that as a heel turn. because like, I guess that one moment led to a web of heel moments on and on. The corporation, everything you just listed. Absolutely. No argument there. That is a
I mean, without that moment, right? Mr. McMahon never wins the Royal Rumble. Vince McMahon never becomes WWE champion. He never tears both of his quads while
his face. Oh my god, you never see a guy so vulnerable ever like that. You know?
It's amazing, right? But again, if without the Montreal screw job, that doesn't happen because he's not that Mr. McMahon character. He's not coming down to the ring, and he's not coming down to the ring again walking. McMahon does, right? Because obviously there's a difference between the way Vince McMahon walks in real life and the way Mr. McMahon walks, right?
And I loved when well, Conor McGregor, like in his like whole his whole giant rise to stardom, he was doing the McMahon walk, and then I guess he claimed it on Twitter, being like, "Yeah, I meant McMahon walk," and literally like Vince McMahon's Twitter like responded, and he's like a video of him doing it. It's like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Yeah, and it would be Vince himself to say to Conor McGregor on Twitter, being like, "No, sir."
Yeah. No, and so yeah, I mean, how can you be a wrestling fan and not love Mr. McMahon? Right, the character, right? The character, not Vince McMahon, the person, right? There's
some text messages that might say he's not the greatest person around.
Right. I'm saying nothing about Vince McMahon, the person, strictly Mr. McMahon, the character. Again, one of the greatest heels in the history of wrestling, and really because he was able to blur that line with reality, right? And so that's really where I'm going to go there.
Perfect.
And then so finally, in that last spot, I'm going to go the same way that you did, right? I'm going to do Hogan's the third man, right? Joining the Outsiders, doing the leg drop on Randy Savage, as you said. And I think really the key things there on why I put that there, you alluded to it with what you were talking about. If you think about that video of it happening, the children that are sobbing in the crowd. I mean, he emotionally really broke the hearts of millions and millions of children and adults who had grown up with him and believed him in him, and to say your prayers and take your vitamins. I mean, you and I were both those people, right?
I was wearing my Hulk Hogan tank top. I really was.
I was completely bought into Hulk Hogan as a child. So for him to be the guy to go against the red and yellow, and to be the third guy, to be the heel, and so really all you have to do is just go back and watch the video of it happening. Watch the women and children crying. Watch the men cursing and yelling and sitting there in disbelief. Watch the amount of trash and beers and things that get thrown into the ring because people were legitimately angry.
Super angry. And Gene Okerlund saying crap, on a broadcast. At that time, that was a big taboo. You did not. We were family television still,
Right,
and you have crap in the ring represents these fans out here.
Right. You have to think with the throwing of the trash, and that's not like how people boo normal heel turns. Again, that was the crowd honestly feeling betrayed. And it was amazing. It was great. It was great. It's everything you want in a heel turn, and so that's why.
Well, by your boy Eric Bischoff, he created
right, and then also, as with the other ones, right? When you then think about long-term impact, right? That Hogan is the third man is what kicks off the NWO, which is what really kicks off the Monday Night Wars, which leads to the 83 weeks. I mean, it leads to Goldberg. There's so many things.
Yes.
And the Monday Night Wars being one of the peaks of professional wrestling history. And again, really all of that is set in motion by Hogan getting rid of the red and yellow and embracing the black and white.
And the beard, like that, like it's like that small little like change in his look completely like this, like, oh my God.
Yeah. Now I do have to tell you though, as much as I love red and yellow Hogan, I love the look of Hollywood Hogan way better. I prefer
Like the black pants and like
the black pants and the black side
yeah.
beard with it. Like I think it's a better look. I do.
Yeah. No, it is. I think because in reality, you see Hulk Hogan being that motorcycle dude at the bar.
Right.
Like in real life, that would be like, lifting weights and, causing, ransacking the local town. Like that would be the motorcycle dude that is Hulk Hogan.
Right. He looks like more of the meathead that he is, as opposed to the surfer, like Venice Beach, like
I'm chilling on the beach. Exactly. Yeah, it's just so you have like these like 6 moments, great moments in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And you think about it, it's like, it's the feelings. It's always the feelings, like I spoke earlier about, in literature, when that good guy turns bad. I'm gonna turn it over to current events. Recently on Monday Night Raw, today is the actual date of today is March 21st. On the 18th or 17th, St. Patrick's Day, John Cena came out on Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw is now on Netflix, and he capitalized on the heel turn that he made at the Elimination Chamber, and he went buck crazy.
Yes, he did.
I've never been broken up with by a man before. I see now what that point of view. That's scary. But I turned 12 years old and saw Hulk Hogan dropping that. Like, even worse is because the way he was doing it was so adult. I think any guy, that's didn't, marry the first girl they make out with, has been in that toxic relationship, has been in that fight where it's like I give. So I ask you, Mr. Dan Diablo. I know that you watched it. And I got some of your we had a phone call about it, but well, my question to you is John Cena turning the best heel turn, taking the Washington spot?
All right. So maybe this is controversial. I don't know. As you know, I really don't care because it's my opinion and it's right. Right. So
it's right. Okay.
And it's right. Right. So you either agree with me or you're wrong.
Or you fail the test. You fail the class, right?
Right. But yes, I do think that John Cena is making the best heel turn of all time. And let me tell you why.
Okay.
We talked about Hulk Hogan and the heartbreak that he caused. John Cena is that multiplied. John Cena, the hustle, loyalty, and respect, John Cena is the equivalent of the say your prayers, take your vitamins, Hulkamania, except he did it for twice as long. John Cena was a face for 21 years. That means there are people on this planet who are old enough to drink alcohol who had been born and lived until this moment without ever seeing John Cena not be the baby face that he is. So 2 decades as the guy, as this baby face, and then he makes the turn. So that's one part of it. But really what for me resonates the most and what makes it the greatest heel turn of all time is that it is the most warranted heel turn of all time.
You're using
When
big words here. Warranted. What are you talking about?
it was justified when I sat there and I listened to John Cena talk on Monday Night Raw about the abusive relationship that he had been in and the way the crowd had treated him over the last 20 years. I was sitting there thinking, he's right. He's 1,000% right. You know, John Cena, everybody wants to give him his flowers now that he's on his retirement tour. What about the last 25 years? What about all the time that this guy had the company on his back where he was the guy? What about that? During that time period, what was the crowd doing? Half of them were chanting Cena sucks. You know, if you go back
It
to
was always
ECW,
the girls and the little kids. The girls and the little kids.
right? And when you go back to ECW One Night Stand, it wasn't even "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks." Cena
Cena
sucks
wins, we riot.
right. And you know, thinking about him presenting at the 2006 Hall of Fame and getting booed, thinking about him going up against Triple H when Triple H was coming off the Reign of Terror and the crowd is cheering for Triple H. And I mean, this guy again, he was the face of the company. He was the guy that was on the road, you know, delivering, you know, doing all the house shows, doing all the pay-per-views, doing all the worldwide tours, selling all the merchandise, doing all the appearances. Let's not forget, and this goes into making the heel turn more heartbreaking, but also why it's more justified. John Cena is the Guinness World Record holder for the most wishes granted for the Make-A-Wish Foundation,
So
and
true.
it's not even close. It is not even close. So this guy, again, for 25 years has done nothing but give and give and give and give and give. And what did he get for it? You can't wrestle. Cena sucks. The 5 moves of doom, right?
Oh,
That's
the
what he got
hatred.
for it.
I mean, they had fans in the crowd that became characters, like because they hated John Cena. It was like I hate John Cena guy T-shirt.
Right.
It's like it's amazing. Like it's amazing how the visceral. You know, once again, I'm using that word, and I should stop using. I should go get the thesaurus, but it is really that like. Oh, I hate you, John Cena. Oh,
And,
and
and,
this is when
and
he's trying to be a good guy. And that's one thing I wanted to add about the Make a Wish is it's not that he's saying, "Oh, I'll do a make a wish for anyone." He's requested to be, "Hey, unfortunate child who has a disease, needs a little help, needs a little more morale boost." They want John Cena at their bedside.
yes,
That's an amazing like character trait to have, to know that like a sick little kid wants to see John Cena, and he's so down to do that. But
right,
yet there was no appreciation in those 19,000 at TD Bank Garden, or 25,000 Madison Square Garden, or 18,000 at the Staples Center. It never happened. It was
right,
always 50-50. Hulk Hogan, on the other hand, had 85% of the crowd.
right. Exactly. So I feel that everything John Cena said, again, it was the truth. The crowd doesn't deserve John Cena. They don't. So again, now you want to give him his flowers? No. No, you didn't give the man his just due
You
for the last
take, you take, you take,
exactly.
and then you tell me that I am not enough. Wow, right, bro?
Right. Right. And again, and people hate on him. Why? Because he's successful. You know, that's the thing. All of these people who hate on John Cena, they're jealous. Those people suck.
Fame,
They
everything.
would trade their life for John Cena's in half a second. In half a second.
It's completely true. And you know what it
Yeah,
is it's not jealousy from, like the crowd or whatever, but it's coworkers too. It's like even in his first run, CM Punk, a lot of his angst was aimed towards John Cena. Even in that Las Vegas promo, he says it's like, I don't like, it's not that I don't even like you as a guy, John Cena. I hate the idea of you, that you're like the greatest wrestler of all time. You have two people here right now probably would agree with that statement. But there
John
are
Cena
people
is the greatest wrestler of all time.
okay, there you go.
Maybe that's a hot take, but it's the truth.
No, it's not a hot take.
Well, I mean, or at least he's up there, right? He's worth the conversation, right? I guess we can't. I guess I haven't decided that. We can't definitively say that, and I guess it's a conversation for
it'll be an episode of an own, but like
right, but I mean, he's worthy of the conversation, right? And
of course.
yeah, and again, you know. So CM Punk doesn't like the idea of John Cena.
John
Why?
Cena being like the best wrestler because he's the one. CM Punk is the one not only entertaining the crowd but putting on those quote unquote at that time. You know, I'm not saying this is CM Punk.
I mean, sure, he's entertaining the crowd. Sure, he was putting on
almost 5-star. What you would say 5-star matches.
Sure, but that's not what it's about. That's not what it's about. That's where I think people get confused, right? When people talk about, you know, wrestling, that's confusing wrestling as if it was a sport, right? Who's the best, right? Like who's the best basketball player? Who's the best? Right there. Who's the best football player? It's not about who's the best because wrestling is a predetermined entertainment. It's a show. It's theatrics. So at the end of the day, it's the wrestling business. It's the entertainment industry. And so it's not about who's the best in-ring technician. It's about who's the best at putting asses in seats and pushing merchandise. And that's
the absolute truth. And that's but that is the plight of those 300 people that show up at Quincy, Massachusetts Armory, you know, like once every 2 months. Like that's the plight of every other, you know, independent. It's like, yo, we're putting on the best 60-minute Broadways with 1,000 Canadian destroyers or whatever. And I'm not even saying that these are the people that you know that CM Punk is representing or anything. I'm not even saying that, but it is that type of fan that is booing John Cena, that 50% of people.
Sure. I mean, I guess what I would ask is how many action figures did you sell though? how many t-shirts did you sell?
The t-shirts are always great. Like
here's
what's your favorite John Cena t-shirt?
John Cena, I'll put it to you this way, right? John Cena pushes action figures to kids, right? John Cena sells t-shirts and that I'm a 42-year-old man wearing a John Cena t-shirt right now. He's got my money, right? He put my ass in seats multiple times, right? There are many times that I have paid money to go to a WWE event. Why? Because I wanted to see John Cena. I have never gotten up one day and decided to spend money because I wanted to go see CM Punk. that never happened. That never will happen.
And that at that time, I would say that CM Punk is that representative of that internet wrestling fan who just doesn't understand like what real success is in the company. It's not it's not what you think. It's not what your like friend over here thinks. You need a group of people to really agree that what you're doing is good, and groups and groups and groups of people have handed over their hard-earned money, as they say in the business, to see John Cena, even if it's losing. You know, they want to see John Cena lose.
Yeah.
There's people that talk about his reign on top being worse than Triple H, you know, in the early 2000s. I can't believe that, but there are, you know, you Squared Circle Reddit, you will see that people making those comments. A lot of people making those comments.
The matter is that
those are the people that are booing him all these years. You know, those
right, but what the numbers say is the numbers say that people loved it, right? Because the truth is that John Cena presided over.
But that's I can't even like sustaining that level of success. Oh, the rating. You'll hear what's his Vince Russo talking about ratings. Oh, when I was, you know, producing Jerry Springer type Raw, and then like John Cena, but John Cena still held those like 3 million, 4 million people on Monday night and Friday nights on SmackDown, and he was a SmackDown guy. So
I think that's also Vince Russo, though. Vince Russo's talking about ratings. Sure, ratings matter. You know what matters more than ratings? Revenue. And the fact of the matter is that John Cena when John Cena, during his time period, WWE is bringing in more revenue than when Stone Cold was champion. But that's just the reality of the situation, because the reach was bigger, right? It's during the John Cena time period that the WWE really goes international and really builds that global footprint, right? That's with John Cena being the face of the company.
He learned Mandarin. He learned fluent Mandarin to get into the Chinese market.
Exactly, right. And again, what did he get for it? What did he get for it?
Ooh, but John Cena, no, F.U. Cena, even in that heel promo this past Monday, it was amazing, and that's a foreign country that was doing it. Imagine if he was in Philadelphia.
Right.
It's crazy. It's that's why I believe that moment really is I agree with you, being the best heel turn ever. But what I wanted to talk to you about, since you did watch it, I wanted to get your take. So, 25 years later, John Cena is, different from the Thugonomics, that type of heel John Cena, the rapper, freestyle.
Yeah.
He's grown up both as a wrestling character on television, and then also with Hollywood and the training that you get, and all the new co-workers that he has in the Hollywood, whether it be directors, acting coaches, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I want to present a video to you. It is some random dude, but I think you might know him.
Yeah.
But I want you to listen, and then I want to get your feelings on this take.
All right, sounds good.
Track record over the last several years, becoming a better actor, working with better actors, being directed by better directors, because as his film career ascends, so does the quality and talent of the people that are around him. And I'm hoping that all of that is going to wind up with a character that will deliver exactly what you're looking for. Because I believe, given all of the experience that John's had over the last 20 years in the ring and the last 5 or whatever it's been in Hollywood, I think there's the potential of him delivering a character that will give you every bit as much story as you're hoping to get. I believe it's possible, given all the variables. John's got the talent. Backstory can be there. That's where you got to come up with a good idea. And the execution, they've proven that they can execute incredibly well. So I'm hopeful. Let's see. Who knows?
Perfect. All right. So feelings go.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that John Cena, again, people like to hate on him, but I think he has really starting to prove himself as an actor, right? I mean, they gave him a lead in the Peacemaker series, right? Folks are not going to invest millions and millions of dollars and make you the lead of a series if you're awful. Also, I mean, it's been renewed, right? It's been successful, so he's proven,
and it's successful. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
right. And so he's proven to be able to be a successful actor. I agree with everything that he said in terms of being around better talent, and I think it ultimately will make him be able to do better character work. Honestly, I think we're already seeing that with the heel turn, because as you said, it's a very different heel turn than the Doctor of Thugonomics, right? Because I think the Doctor of Thugonomics, is your traditional heel, right? And I think it would be very easy for folks to sit there and say that if you watch the John Cena promo from Brussels, that, oh, well, he's doing nothing but trying to get cheap heat, right? He's just dissing the crowd. And it's I don't
think that was the farthest away from the cheap
right,
heat ever.
Exactly. I think it was so nuanced in the terms of, like I said, it was very justified in everything that he said. It's very much on that line of reality, and especially, acknowledging, I'll admit myself, right? And even when he said, said even the people, the Let's Go Cena people, right? Where he said, all of you suck. But think about this, because as someone who likes John Cena, as somebody who thinks he's justified and who thinks this is the best heel turn, I'm one of those people that John Cena was talking about, and here's why. When John Cena made this heel turn, one of the first things that I thought about, and I know I spoke to you about it, is new merchandise, new song. What kind of new song and what kind of new merchandise are we going to get?
I was waiting for Ether. I was waiting for Ether to start playing. Like, that's really what I thought was going to start
playing.
I was
pumped for that. And then John Cena came out and was like, no, you don't get new merchandise because I don't dress like you. You dress like me. No, you don't get a new song because that's my song. That's my voice. And then the way he flipped it into the your time is up. My time is now. Tying that into the fact that it's been the crowd's time for 25 years. John Cena has been the WWE Universe's bitch for the last 2.5 decades. And he's saying no more.
Yeah.
Right. And he's saying no more. I'm tired. I'm tired of you taking advantage and John Cena giving and giving and giving and it not being reciprocated from the crowd. So fine. So now that's it. Right. And so he doesn't owe us anything, including he doesn't owe us new merch and he doesn't owe us a new theme song. And when he said that again, I was like, damn, he's right. You know,
he's cutting in. He's cutting in deep.
Right. And I was like, oh, he's talking to me, you know? So yeah, I think that, you know, even in that one promo, I think that is evidence of what Eric Bischoff is trying to say there, right? I think it shows a lot of nuance, right? I think ultimately, if you tie it back to what Bischoff is saying, it's almost as if it's somebody who's had training and experience with dramatic acting. Wow. You don't say.
You don't say so. There's a part in that.
Who knew, right? Range of emotion. But John Cena sucks, right? But
sucks big time.
but John Cena sucks. The one thing I will say though is I did really love the crowd chanting John Cena sucks along with his music. It gave me very much Kurt Angle you suck vibes.
Yeah.
And I really did enjoy that. I did enjoy that. And I feel like it's good fuel because if Cena is going to be a heel, you know, when he first came out, I wasn't sure, is the crowd going to embrace John Cena as a heel? And oh man, did he, man, I mean, that crowd was so against him on Monday night. And
big time.
Right. And you know what? I think that in and of itself demonstrates how great John Cena actually is, right? Because when you think about wrestling, what's the worst thing that could happen? No reaction from the crowd, right? The crowd doesn't care, right? You either want a huge pop or you want them to hate you. And think about this. John Cena went from walking into Elimination Chamber and getting the biggest pop of the night to walking out on Monday Night Raw and having more heat than anybody else on the roster, including Dominic Mysterio, who's been the king of heat for the last 2 years. John Cena,
the ultimate troll.
John Cena in a 5-minute beatdown of Cody Rhodes went from the biggest pop to the biggest heat. Biggest heat. And the thing is, that's your job as a heel, right? So I guess John Cena is the greatest heel in the company, isn't he?
He's definitely turned that way. If the Elimination Chamber and that beatdown with Travis Scott, you know, that whole scene, and then, you know, always my thing, it's like the simplest thing to do, which AEW doesn't do. And I'm not just hating AEW, but I hate that they do this because it's so noticeable. When a serious thing is happening in the ring, the announcers need to learn to shut the hell up and let the moment sink. You know, like how many wrestling moments was Jim Ross able to just, you know, just let whatever's happening in the ring, just let it play
breathe.
out.
Let it breathe.
Yeah, exactly. Let it breathe. I don't like. I only say that. I only quote that because I don't know if you saw that viral clip of Dean Ambrose taking the like the baseball bat with the nails to the back,
I
and it's
did.
like,
I did.
yeah, and fight with WWE. That's the thought that I had, and it's just disgusting. Number two, though, is you don't need to do that, or if you do that, why would the announcers be like, "Oh my god, this is the grossest thing I've ever"? Now you're like taking away the people's their own thought process to just let them absorb that themselves, and that's what I loved about that Travis Scott, like that whole 10-minute thing, silence and just letting the crowd eat it, and like it's letting you make the decision about how you want to make it feel instead of like the announcers doing it like that. But because I bring that up, and this will be one of the final thoughts, at least aggressively towards the heel scene attorney, because I think we could talk a lot positives about it also. But Dave Metzler reported in the Wrestling Observer newsletter back in February 28th, reacting to that promo at Elimination Chamber, and this is quoted. This is quoted. I didn't put this in. This is my own words, paraphrasing. But the angle was weird, awful, and uncomfortable. You're going to talk about taking souls and doing devilish things, and then for 10 minutes just leaving radio silence on a live broadcast. And once again, that is paraphrase. He didn't say that exactly, because I might have not paid my $15.99 a month this month. Just like you said, let it breathe.
So, in my opinion, I think
I didn't like this. I didn't like this, Dave Metzler. I didn't like this.
No, I think you let the moment breathe. In terms of being uncomfortable, taking your soul, things like that. I mean, it's television, it's entertainment, right? Like, how is that any different from watching anything else supernatural? I mean, weird. They had an undead character of the Undertaker for, like 25 years. This is nothing, supernatural and weird things is nothing new in professional wrestling, right? I mean, that's is so. I don't understand that. I mean, this is a guy making a heel turn and giving a beatdown. So I really don't understand how it's weird or uncomfortable. I feel like, again, it was very, again, it's not super different from, I think, what you see again in other heel turns. I think it's more impactful, right? Maybe it looked more based in reality, but I don't know. Yeah, the weird, I don't get
buy
it. But
into
again,
it either.
I think he's just biased, though. I mean, honestly, I think that guy hates WWE, right? Like, let's be.
He doesn't. I mean, once upon a time, he was like an invited guest by Vince McMahon to come and report, and like once upon a time.
Sure. But I mean, if you think about it, though, in the reality of I mean, let's look at what he's put out there, right? People look at the star ratings of his matches. I think, isn't it true that he's never given a WWE match a 5-star rating?
Kurt Angle has not even in himself. All those years in TNA.
Right. So that again, that's all you need to know. Yes, right. The same way I said earlier that if you don't put the Hogan heel turn on your list, I can't take you seriously. I don't care that people look at him as an authority on professional wrestling or like a guy that knows all of this. He's a guy with opinions, and his opinions are wrong, because if you can sit there and he's obviously not able to be objective, because if you're not being a hater and not being biased, it is impossible to say that Brock Lesnar has never put on, that Kurt Angle has never put on a 5-star match. But the reason I say Brock Lesnar is because
that's what you are, yeah.
Right, because if you think about the Kurt Angle Brock Lesnar Iron Man match, how is that not a 5-star match? There's no way that you can, or look at Brock Lesnar Kurt Angle at WrestleMania when Brock Lesnar almost
match before that.
Right, but if you look at the match, I mean, and the wrestling clinics that guy would put on. So yeah, I don't give any credit to anything that Dave Metzler says about anything, and I think
and the reason why I use him as a reference point, and that's the thing is he is seen as an authority, whether you like it or not. But the
by
one
losers,
thing
though,
with
by
that
losers, the people that look at him as an authority are losers.
but the thing
If you
is
look
that
to him for your wrestling news or to give you your opinion on what's good in professional wrestling, you're a mark and you're a loser. And that's just the reality of the situation.
that is one man's opinion. I represent you guys. You guys are my people. But
Well,
I will say this.
you're a mark and a loser.
Hey, just because I have that tattooed on my back, over there,
Right.
loser, that da da da. But no, the one thing with it, with that is, his newsletter, whatever, or his opinions or the hot takes that he has printed is a good reference point for what the internet wrestling community is. And the reason why I will say that opinion is very, very important and should be at least entertained is because those 600 kids or 600 men, girls, whoever are going to be the ones that are going to be buying those tickets when, wrestling's at its troughs, and wrestling does have troughs. And that's what I call the core audience. I would consider me and you as the core audience. And as much as you want to diss me and call me a loser, and I agree with you with that, I don't think that we would populate into that, but I would say we are that core environment. So I would say Dave Metzler's opinions and whatever represents a good part of that crowd. Would you agree or no?
I would say his opinions represent that part of the crowd. I would just say
it's not a big part, but it is an important part, right?
I mean, not important to me, important to some people, not not to me. I mean, those folks' opinion is irrelevant to me, but
so. The Ham and Eggers opinions are irrelevant to you, Mr. Bobby the Brain?
Yeah, pretty much. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Actually, yeah. I honestly, we should, instead of saying internet wrestling community, we should just start saying these Ham and Eggers.
Right. I mean, if you've ever sat down and say, you know what I need to do? I need to go back and watch some classic Mid-South wrestling.
To go on the Ariel Helwani show and admit that. I mean, even if people give me money, I probably wouldn't even say that. Or just how it sounds so insincere. Are you going to tell me that you grew up, that he's the same our age and he never put on WWE wrestling? You're out of your face. I guarantee there's pictures of him rocking a Hulk Hogan tank top.
Right, of course, but
yeah, it's always that way. But so we both agree that John Cena's very recent, very fresh wound heel turn takes the Washington spot.
Absolutely, hands down, no question.
Professor agrees, and I agree with him. And and the setup of the show, as always, is seeing who the best is. And if you're the best at turning bad, your name is John Cena. What a great episode. We actually just hit the hour mark, and I love it to death. There's probably not going to be a lot of editing out of this one because, I didn't start messing up and forgetting things in between. So this is a good thing. But Dan Diablo, we'll be talking once again next week with this Wrestling's Mount Rushmore. Make sure to check out episode 1, Intercontinental Champions. Posted over here. You'll see it there. Schoolyard Productions. We are making podcast after podcast. Shout us out. You want to be number 3 on the screen right here? You let us know, because the professor over there, he doesn't make the invite list. I do, but I can't guarantee that you won't leave with a couple of injuries from the match, right?
Oh, for sure. This is my yard.
Oh, it's just
Yeah, I mean,
we just live here, right? This is your house. We just live here.
Exactly. I mean, anybody who wants to be in the third box, I mean, prerequisite, acknowledge me.
Dan Diablo, have a great night, my man. We're going to be signing off, all right?
All right.